Okay, thank you, Jen, for coming for this session. And in the previous session, you've been sharing about the stresses you've been going through at the workplace. And as we continued, you talked many things, but a few things that I picked. One of them is about the feeling of lack of work-life balance. At the same time, there were issues that you felt there was a family work conflict or work family conflict. Maybe you can share with me a little bit what is it that you're experiencing that makes you feel there's a conflict between the work that you do or the organization that you work for and also about your home or your family. Okay, so I hear you say like some of the shifts that you do really do affect your family life, and you also need your job so that you are able to put food on the table. So what happens when we have work family conflict? It can really affect our output at workplace, and it can also affect our family. So we can say work family conflict, this happens when the demands between work and family are incompatible. And I can cite the example you've talked about the shift. When we join the healthcare profession, the demands at the healthcare profession can really conflict with home. Why? Because work in a healthcare facility, most of the time it will demand that you work in shift, you work hours that others are asleep, and so the demands at home, for example, there's a small baby, there is a husband or a partner or a wife that you need to have a good relationship, then this is affected. This leaves you feeling as though it is impossible to excel till you are not again a star at home or a star at workplace because there is a conflict. There is the demands at home. You don't feel like a star as an employee, and you don't feel a star as a family person. And so this can bring also stress. And we need to find a way on how to deal with this. As we continue, I listened to you and you did say that sometimes we work in the afternoon, sometimes we work during the day, sometimes life demands that you also go on night duty. And as I said, or as you had also expressed, that can really cause a conflict. There are two types of work-family conflict. One, when work demands interfere with the family. That is, work demands is like your shift, your shift demand is interfering with you cooking for your family, with you going for family function. For example, work demands that on a Christmas day, hospitals don't close, and maybe you fall to be the one on duty that day. Another type of family conflict is when family life interferes with work demands. Your family life right now, maybe you've gotten a new baby, but a particular time you need to go back to work, and there is a demand you need to take care of your baby, and the baby have not even reached a point to be left to sleep with the house manager. So these are the two types of demands or work-related conflict that we can experience. Again, what are the reasons of work-family conflict? This can be personal values. There can be also inflexible schedules. And sometimes this can be human created because some schedules cannot still be changed if you cooperate with the workmates. But there are times they are put like these schedules cannot be flexible. They can be flexible with the support with others. Another reason there is work-life conflict is lack of spouse support. When you are young and we get into the healthcare profession, we are single, we don't have husbands, we don't have wives. It may look a bit simple. And that alone, when you get married, you start having babies, you need to go for night duty, Christmas you cannot accompany your spouse, then you lack the spouse support to go to work, to be able to deliver to your patients. This can cause a very big conflict. And it's not unusual to hear some people have even, the spouses have demanded, you quit the job, you stay at home. Then number 4, there is high work demand. As a healthcare provider, there can be a lot of conflict because of the high work demand. There is the long working hours, as we had mentioned earlier, and there can be the larger family demand, not only the spouse. For example, maybe there's a function going on within the family, a wedding or even a funeral, and there is that family demand that you need to be there, and your work, hospital must be opened, patients must be taken care of. Who is supposed to take care of these people? And you need also to be at home, and there can be a high a demand at home, and there's a conflict. What are then the consequences of work-family conflict? What might happen? There can be work outcomes. There is lack of job satisfaction. When there is work-family conflict, it can now turn out that there is no job satisfaction. There can also be a consequence of family fallout can happen because your spouse is marrying, you quit their job, and you don't want to quit your job. This conflict can bring a family fallout, or even the larger family feeling you are never there, you don't support the others, and there can be a problem within the larger family. There can also be a consequence of physical health. Because of the long working hours, because of even the emotional drainage that you experience, then you can have a problem, even behavioral, let's say like a lacking sleep or too much sleep or just feeling physically tired. It can happen. Psychological health, just the thought of, if I go to work, where will I come back home to? My husband does not support this. My wife does not support this. My bigger family, or even my own children, the nuclear family. And so all those psychological effects is a consequence of lack of, there is a conflict between what you're doing, your work, and your family. There can also be, a consequence of your life expectation, and even what we had discussed about earlier, work-life balance, can also be affected. And therefore, as you continue giving services to our patients, we need also to know we need to give service to our family, and we need to find a solution. Maybe you can share with me, probably, what is it that you've ever tried to see that you have dealt with work-life balance, and also be able to deal with the work-family conflict, because that's where also the work-life balance comes in, so that you're able to balance up even what is happening at home, what's happening at work, and therefore there won't be a conflict between the two, or if there is, it is minimal. Okay, maybe I can also share a situation where I found work-family conflict. Yes, here I am. I am on night duty, and those days, as a critical care nurse, I was working in the intensive care unit, and I had to go to work night duty 2 nights. Then I go the 4 night offs. During the day that I was on night duty, most of the time I rarely, unless it's holiday, saw my children. So I'm going to work. I leave my house around 4:30 so that I can be at the workplace on time. That time, the children have not come from school. By the time I'm arriving in the morning to sleep so that I can go the next night, they have left for school. So you can imagine, for 2 nights you've not seen your children, and the offs that you'll get, maybe you won't have enough time because you're tired and sleepy, or you have also to do some work somewhere. so that you are able to put food on the table. And I remember when I stopped doing night duty because I had to do other assignments and I had to go to work evening duty or morning to evening, and I announced that in the house, and the family was like, oh, mom will be available. This work of yours has been a problem. And I realized there was a very big work family conflict, though I continued working. So when we are doing this, we need to balance our work, our family life, so that we do not have a family conflict or a work family conflict. How then can we deal with this problem? In our next part of the session, we are going to look on how to deal with family or rather work family conflict so that we are able to be a star at workplace and also be a star at home. See you in the next session.